I'm just getting all of my tech stuff set up, and I'm really excited to see you all. All right, it looks like the recording is going. We've got 1 minute to the hour, but we will go ahead and the doors are open. So as people come in, say hi, let us know where you're from. I should have a door prize for like who's got the hottest temperature right now and who's got the lowest. We might win for lowest. I woke up and it was 6 degrees Fahrenheit. So, you know, a good, 22 degrees below freezing. Gail from San Francisco. We got North Carolina, South Carolina, Wisconsin, Idaho. So many people from all over, really. I'm going to guess that most of you are pretty, quite a bit warmer than I am. Yvonne in Canada, you'll have to let me know if it's cold up there. So welcome. I'm really glad that you're able to be here. Oh, Beth is in Vegas. I don't know if you're there because you live there for the 20 Books conference, but I hope that you're loving it. Theophilus from Middle Earth, aren't we all? So welcome, everybody. I'm really, really glad that you're here. We're on the hour, so I'm sure some more people will be popping in, but I want to go ahead and get started. So first of all, welcome. If you don't know me, I'm Alana Terry. I run the Successful Writer Academy and the Successful Writer podcast, and I also write Christian suspense novels. And I love jumping on calls like this to chat with you about book marketing. I know my story kind of was, I'm going to guess, similar to a lot of people, where I was a stay-at-home mom. I always wanted to be a writer. And so it never was meant to be anything more than a hobby and a creative expression. I got into self-publishing back in 2013 and then realized, oh, I'm responsible for marketing my books in addition to just writing them. And I learned to love the marketing side of it. It's taught me how to take control of my own success and not sit around waiting for an agent or a publishing company or BookBub editorials team to tell me that my books were good enough to find readers. So I found that learning marketing was amazingly empowering. And so that's why I love to teach the marketing side of it. For me, it's sure, like I like to teach you the ins and outs, and I can show you like the dashboard, and I can take something that looks intimidating and show you step by step. But what I really love is the level beyond that, where you feel empowered to market your book and you don't hate the marketing. You don't think of marketing as the afterthought. You don't think of marketing as kind of the tax you have to pay in order to be a writer. But it can become part of your creative expression. That's something that I think gets missing a lot from marketing discussions for authors, because as authors, we're artists and we're creatives, and then we're supposed to put on this marketing hat. And most of us think that the marketing hat means that we need to have, a calculator in our pocket, and we need to love Excel spreadsheets, and we need to be like cut and dry, and we need to unleash our inner nerd who only likes numbers and things like that. And I'm all about unleashing the inner nerd, and I don't mind the numbers. But what I found is that what's missing from the marketing conversation for authors is how creative of a process it can be. So the same creative energy that it takes you to write a novel, you can use to write a blurb or to write the copy for your website or to write an email newsletter. The same storytelling ability that makes your readers love reading what you write can mean that you can have a great newsletter that people love opening. The kind of power that allows you to create an amazing character for a novel, for example, will allow you to create a Facebook audience, because in Facebook, you can get really, really specific. So you can say, find me somebody who reads mysteries, but who also likes British TV shows and watches home cooking shows and likes country Western music. Like, you can get really specific. And so this topic today, our time together, is sort of divided into 3 parts. I want to start by talking about the mindset of marketing, because like I said, that is missing from a lot of the conversations that authors have. Let me move my mic up just a touch. So we're going to talk about the mindset of marketing, the pitfalls that we can buy into, how to get over if you feel sleazy marketing, how to get over if you feel resentful, right? Why should I have to market my book? I just want to be a writer. Like, I think if I said, raise your hand if you've ever said that, probably 100% of us would say at one point, we have probably said, I don't want to market my books. I just want to write them, right? Oh, thank you, Linda. You like my plants in the background. If it's loud in the background, speaking of, my son's doing PT exercise upstairs, but it's going to be like 2 more minutes. So I don't know if you can hear that thumping, but he's almost done, I promise. All right. So we're going to talk first about the marketing mindset. Next, we're going to shift gears and we're really going to dive into the main ad platforms that authors have. So I'm talking about Facebook ads, Amazon ads, and BookBub ads. And we are going to talk about what to use when, the pros and cons of each, and how to let them all work together. And lastly, we'll open it up for any kind of Q&As that people want. And so we're just going to dive right in. Let me see if I've missed any comments here. All righty. Yeah, PJ, I think kind of summed up how a lot of us feel. I hate marketing. It just doesn't work no matter how hard I try. I do feel resentful of all the time it takes when I could be writing. Yeah, and so that's what we're going to talk about from the mindset standpoint. And then what I want to show you is from the ads dashboard standpoint. It does not have to be scary. It does not have to be intimidating. And we can kind of get over some of the things. And that's the other nice thing about having these 3 dashboards. This is an expensive time of year to be running Facebook ads. And if Facebook ads were the only dashboard that you were using, it would be a lot scarier for you to just stop your Facebook ads. But if you know that you've got Amazon ads running in the background, you've got BookBub ads that you can rely on. These all can work together to form your marketing plan. Janet, here's the jumping jacks. Thank you for being patient with that. Like I said, it's going to be done really, really soon. Alrighty, so I want to start us with kind of an exercise to get us out of the I hate marketing and it never works mindset, and to get us into how do I want it to look mindset. Because sometimes we might sit around and complain that marketing doesn't work, but we don't really think about, well, what would it look like if it did work? So basically what I want you to picture and to throw in chat is, what would it look like, feel like, be like if your marketing worked exactly the way you wanted it to, and then some. So if all the ads you set up were profitable, if the dashboards were easy, if you could basically say, okay, this month I want to make $10,000, so I know how much money I need to put into ads to get that. This is what I want to start us off with, is having basically the book marketing fairy godmother come and wave the magic wand and say, okay, book marketing is now easy. It's now profitable. It's now effective. And what I want you to do is to flesh that out. What does that look like? What does it feel like? What changes in your life? So yeah, I could be more relaxed. I could quit my day job. I could be a full-time writer. I could set it, check on it now and then, and focus more on writing. So Sean, that is so possible. Some ad platforms, as you're learning them, you feel like, man, I've spent 5 hours this week doing Facebook ads. If I want to keep this up, this means that for 5 hours every single week, I need to do Facebook ads. And that's time I could be writing or hanging out with my kids or doing jumping jacks upstairs. And so really the easier it gets, the easier it gets. The more you get into the dashboard, the more you find what works, the more it can be a little bit more set it and forget it. John says, I don't hate marketing, but I hate Amazon ads. It seems like they're necessary to have really strong income. And no, I wouldn't say they're necessary. Some of it's going to be genre dependent. And this is for sure something that we'll dive more into in the second part, where we talk about the 3 dashboards and what works when, and the pros and cons of each. Some genres do better with one platform, some with another. Some of it has more to do with your personality. Some people love Facebook ads and hate Amazon ads. Some people love Amazon ads and never want to worry about BookBub. So there's ways to make them all work. All right. Evelyn says, I could spend 1 hour or less a week doing this sort of marketing and count on $100,000 or book sales a year. Lofty, no. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing. I don't think I'm doing 100,000 book sales, but for sure, $100,000 a year. And yeah, hour a week is probably average. Some weeks more, some weeks I don't do much at all. So no, it's doable, it's feasible. And so again, that's what I want to kind of help open your minds to, is that you are able to make this happen. Linda says, I want to reach my audience. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another piece that sometimes gets missing, which is why sometimes us as creatives and intuitives, we kind of resist the marketing conversations, because it sounds like it's just about making money and, how can you milk your readers for all they're worth? And of course, as a loving, compassionate person, that's not going to feel good for you. And so learning to see marketing as a way to connect with your readers is amazing. I started Facebook ads because I wanted to make more money from my books. what I learned was that by running Facebook ads, because Facebook is such a social network and a social platform, is I'm able to connect with people, whether or not they read my books, and a lot of them do, but even some of the conversations that happen in the comments of my posts, like some of my favorite are when I'll make a Facebook ad for one of my books and someone jumps on and tags 8 of her friends and says, oh, we should read this next in book club. And then there's side conversations where they're planning their next get together and things. And so we can always be reader focused in our marketing. And I feel like if you're concerned, if marketing feels greedy or sleazy or selfish or anything like that, this is a great time to remember, like, the most effective marketing is reader centric. So it's not what can I get out of this? It's how can you give your reader what they're already looking for? Karen, the noise is over. Thank you for being patient with that. Theophilus says, I wish I had more money to scale up ads more effectively and that there was an easier way to track ROI. Yeah. So let me talk super quick about the easiest way to track ROI, because I know a lot of people struggle with ads because if you go back to elementary school, there really was a dichotomy. People were good at math or they were good at like English, right? Isn't that sort of like you're a math and science person or you're a language arts and humanities person? And I think that schism still is like ingrained in us. And so we feel like, of course, we're writers. So of course, we're going to identify with the arts and humanities, half of the education system. And so we necessarily, even on a subconscious level, feel like, okay, well, the math isn't for us then. The doing split tests like you would in a science experiment isn't for us. So simplest way to check if your ads are profitable and not have to worry about spreadsheets and calculators and things like that, it's basically just see how much your series has brought in a given month or week or whatever your time frame is, across all the books, all the platforms, all the income, paperback, audiobook, page reads, sales, all of that. And then you just compare that to how much you have spent on ads for that series. So basically, you just need to know 2 numbers, how much you spent advertising that series and how much that entire series brought you. And so it can be really, really simple. I like reader links for tracking, but you don't need it. Marketing is a giant elephant. I know I have to eat, so I don't know where to start. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Is it like a giant elephant that you have to? No, nobody has to market your books. That's the other thing. If you feel like if you showed up today so that I could like take out a whip and say, you must do Amazon ads, you must do Facebook ads, you must do BookBub ads, and you must feel guilty and ashamed until you figured them all out. That's not what we're going to get into here. So what we're talking about is, first of all, you don't have to market anywhere. Your sales, your success, your career trajectory is entirely up to you. Now, most people, once they get into ads and find them profitable, are going to choose to keep going that route. But there are other ways to sell your books, by word of mouth, by just being amazingly engaged with your readers, by having an awesome newsletter, which is something that we're not really going to touch on in this webinar. So there are other ways to sell your book. So I don't want anybody to go away saying, okay, in order to be successful, I must do ads on here, and I must do ads on here, and I must do ads on here, and I must spend this amount of money on it. You're in charge. I think the smartest thing to do, if you've never run any ads, the smartest thing to do is to pick one platform and learn it well, and then experiment with another platform. Okay, so nobody needs to start all the things all at once. And the other thing is, we don't need to feel pressured and guilty because somebody sometime told us that this is the only way to make money as an author. Somebody asked, is Facebook dying? Really good question. I'm never going to be alarmist. I'm never going to become Chicken Little running around saying the sky is falling. So is it harder to make a profit on Facebook than it was 3 years ago? Yeah, because the cost per click is always going up as more and more people start running ads. The ad fatigue, where people just kind of learn to tune out ads in their newsfeed, is increasing. So if you've got one book that's 99 cents and that's the only thing that you've got in your catalog, it's probably not going to be effective for you to run Facebook ads, because a lot of Facebook ads are like 30 cents just to get one person to click. So by the time you've gotten one click, if that person doesn't buy your book, you've lost money. So you would basically need 100% of people who buy your book or who click on your ad to buy your book. So I would not say it's dying, because I'm not alarmist. I would say that it is harder to make a profit, but that doesn't mean that you can't. And here's the other thing. Even though 3 years ago it was easier to make a profit on Facebook, doesn't mean that you shouldn't start today, right? It's kind of like gas prices, how in general they're always going to go up. And so you're not going to say, I can't take my road trip this summer because 3 years ago gas was $2.50 a gallon, right? That it doesn't really matter what it was last year. Like right now it's this much. So you'll say, okay, gas is $4 a gallon right now. How can I make this work? Will it work? Let's see let me catch up with some of the comments. How do we know which platform to choose for our genre? Great question that we're going to get into when we dive into the different dashboards for sure. The best place to begin running ads is a really good question. We'll again talk about this in the difference between the three dashboards, but it seems like a lot of people have asked a similar question. So let's dive into it. If you want just a straight up, here's what I recommend. Amazon ads are probably the least intimidating, and they can be the most effective. I'm not saying they always are. Some people have trouble with Amazon ads, but they're the easiest. It's the easiest dashboard to learn. You don't have to do any graphics. And what was one other thing I was going to say about it? It's easy to learn. Don't have to do your graphics. And basically you're targeting people where they're already shopping for books. And the other one is it's not going to spend tons of money. So most people, their problem with Amazon ads isn't like Amazon spent $100. It was like Amazon only spent 10 cents today, and I want them to spend more so I can sell more books. So in that case, I like Amazon ads for beginners. That's where I started. We'll dive more into it when we talk about the differences between the platforms, because there's going to be some differences. For example, if you write super, super steamy, Amazon might not. There are certain subgenres or in certain text covers that Amazon won't let you run ads to. So it's not like everybody must start with Amazon ads, but in general, it's a nice one for beginners. Karen came in late. Alrighty. All right, let's go forward here. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the marketing mindset, and then we'll dive really deep into these different ad dashboards. So let's talk real quick about why mindset matters. First of all, a lot of it's for us. A lot of it is because if we feel like marketing is a have to, if we feel like marketing is totally cut and dry, if we feel like marketing is going to kill our soul and make us greedy and sleazy and make everybody sick of hearing from us, then of course we're not going to enjoy it. And what I find is that if mama ain't happy in the real world, like writing mama ain't happy as a novelist. And so if I go to write it, like if today's a writing day and I'm going to write my novel, but I know in the back of my head, once I write this stupid novel, I'm going to have to learn how to market the novel. And I hate the marketing and it feels so terrible. Like that's actually going to impact my art, right? So it's not just you need to market your books and you need to make peace with marketing because it's essential to make money. It's because if you have such a heavy load on your shoulders, it's going to impact even the creative process as well. So that's why I really love talking about bringing the creativity into your marketing. So even if you don't design your own covers, I would never even bother to try. But I think we all know of an author who will design their own cover, and they treat it as a break from the writing that's still productive, and B, it's a creative way to get to know their characters, right? So as an example, author Jane knows she's going to write a romance. So she goes and she finds the right photos and the right setting, and she builds this cover. And as she's doing that, it's allowing her brain to kind of get to know these characters so that when she sits down to write, those characters are already fleshed out. That's an example of taking something that some people would think is just an admin have to, but making it part of the creative process. Now, I'm not saying we all need to go out and design our own covers, but this can apply for writing your blurb. This can apply to writing your email newsletters. This definitely applies to setting up your ads, especially the question of imagining our ideal reader. The same magic that allows us to create amazing characters in books allows us to create the perfect avatar that we want to reach with our ads. So there's a creative side that goes into it. Same thing with people who do design their own graphics. I don't love doing graphics. I do mostly like stock things if I can. But a lot of people, when they're designing their graphics, it's fun, it's relaxing, it's a way to be productive that's not writing. And it's also a way to kind of get to know your book. So let's say you're creating a pre-order graphic for a book that you're going to advertise on BookBub. And so you've got this itty bitty space to make this itty bitty graphic, and you've got your book cover, and then you're looking for the background to go on the book cover. And as you're searching through the different backgrounds, person A could be saying, I hate that I'm having to work on this. I hate that I have to do the marketing. I don't even know if this is going to work. I lost money on BookBub ads 2 years ago, and I would rather be writing. Okay, that's the attitude that person A could bring into it. Whereas person B could be looking at the different backgrounds and actually using it as a way to get into the right mood for their book. In the same way that like people will create a playlist for a different book, like you could be looking at these images being like, okay, is the dark woods the right background, or is the creepy cabin with an eerie light the right background? And that helps you get into the right mood that you are creating with your words. So what I would love to know is like, what story about marketing are you currently telling? I think let me see if I can find an easier way to phrase this so you can throw it into chat. Like, what is it about marketing that you like the least? What is the most distasteful part about marketing? I would love to know some of your thoughts so we can dissect them a little bit. And then next up, we can dive into the different platforms. And I'm just going to scroll up and make sure I didn't miss any major comments up above. I think we got them all. And we'll for sure have a more extended Q&A at the very end. So like, I love questions coming in. If I happen to miss them, there will be time at the end. All righty. Great. Okay, so here are some of the distasteful parts according to the comments. Learning how to do it well, right? That's why, again, I kind of like, instead of saying, okay, I got to learn like 5 ad platforms today, I want to learn this one well. I want to learn this one well. And that's the other thing. Don't tell yourself, here's some stories that we tell ourselves. I tried Facebook ads 2 years ago and it didn't work. Therefore, advertising doesn't work. Okay, that's way too big of a leap. You could say Facebook ads didn't work for me 2 years ago. That's about all you can say. It doesn't mean that BookBub ads won't work for you. It doesn't mean that Facebook ads today won't work for you. I'm scared about building an email list. I don't know why. And that would be something to explore. Sometimes we feel nervous about like sharing ourselves. That can for sure be a fear about marketing. I don't want to be visible. Sometimes this is cultural. Like if you were brought up in a way where you were kind of expected to be like meek and demure, it can be harder to put yourself out there. Or, you know, some people have privacy concerns. Like if I start an email list, is everybody going to be able to like know what school my kids go to and what my zip code is? There's ways to share yourself and never reveal any more than you want. Like I'm here on camera super regularly. Everybody knows I live in rural Alaska, but you don't know the name of the town. Nobody knows the name of my kids. So there's a way to be like, you know, to put yourself out there, but never reveal more than you want to reveal about yourself. The technology kills me. So Marcy, this is one area where I love to teach because if it's just the technology that's intimidating, I love walking people through like just step by step to make it simple and straightforward. The tracking and analysis is tedious. Yeah. So Lori, what I decided to do is I decided to look at managing my ads, like not really the creating the ads. There's almost 2 different hats I wear. I wear the creating the ads where I definitely put on my like artistic hat. And then I have the managing the ad side, which is a little bit more just kind of looking at numbers and things. what I like to do is I like to do the numbers when I'm tired and need a way to relax. So instead of telling myself, numbers are horrible, I hate math, I'm never going to touch a spreadsheet, ads stink, I tell myself, okay, I work so much with words. It's kind of nice to work with numbers for a change. I work with like characters who refuse to talk to me and plot holes that refuse to resolve themselves. Numbers are never going to surprise me. 4 plus 4 is always going to be 8, no matter what. So I find ads, like, you know how some people will like organize their cupboards when they like life feels chaotic, they just need to organize something. Like that's kind of how I treat analyzing my ads. Like numbers are always predictable. They're always right there. I am, if you're feeling like managing your ads is a have to, but I recommend, like, I make it kind of a, this is a little bit more extreme of a word than I want to use, but I can't think of anything better and it'll drive the point home. Like I have a date with my ads dashboard. I put on some really fun music. I get myself a really good cup of coffee. I make sure that like I'm super, super comfortable and cozy. So maybe instead of being at my stand-up desk, I'm just going to like, put on my bathrobe and sit on the couch and be all comfy and cozy. I'm going to put Glee on in the background because that's like my go-to work, TV show that I watch, which is leaving Netflix at the end of the month. And I'm really, really disappointed. So find a way to like bring a couple things that you really enjoy. Like maybe for the next month, like you're going to give yourself a slice of cheesecake every time you do your ads. Like find a way to associate doing your ads and managing with something that's relaxing or fun. And that can help. Finding the right images on Facebook. Riley, I love that because I don't love graphics. Again, I like to work in words and I don't mind working in numbers. I don't like working in graphics. So what I use for most of my Facebook ads are straight up stock photos or just cropped pictures from my book covers. Those are kind of my two go-tos. I will rarely have an ad with like text and things like that. No matter how many seminars I do, I can't make them work on any platforms. It's a waste of time that kills me. Yeah. So I think, PJ, maybe when we dive into the difference between the ins and outs of the different platforms, what I would recommend is like have your goal for today. And my goal for you today is going to be for you to know for sure which ad platform makes the most sense for you to focus on and to get you a plan to focus on that and not worry about the other ones. Sometimes we do need to kind of put blinders on, right? We need to just say, okay, I'm not going to worry about Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and Google ads. I just want to figure out Amazon ads. All right. Worst part is I get sucked in the marketing hole and spend too much time, then realize I still need to write a few more chapters that day to meet my deadlines. Yeah, that's an interesting side. So again, I like to look at the ads as like a nice productive break from the writing. That's kind of how I divide it mentally in my head. Calculating all the inputs for Amazon ads. Yeah, there's a lot of numbers. And so again, if you again want to just kind of narrow it down and put on your blinders, the most important numbers, I don't say the only numbers, most important numbers to pay attention to are how much you've spent and how much you've brought in for that whole series. So anytime you're looking at that, those are really the most important two numbers. Other numbers can be useful, but you don't need to like know them on a daily basis or things like that. All right. Cannot get a financial return for time and money invested. Yeah. And that is one of the things because all the platforms are getting more expensive. So I want you to hear that. And instead of saying, rats, I missed my chance to get into ads, I should have jumped in 3 years ago. I want to encourage you to be like, okay, ads are getting more expensive. That means I want to learn them now before they get even more expensive. Because if you can get things optimized now, then in 3 years from today, when we're having another webinar talking about how much more expensive they've got, you'll have figured it out already. Okay, Sean says newsletters. I feel like I'm bothering people even though they signed up to have me bother them. Yeah, again, that sounds like more of a mindset issue, the issue of not wanting to put yourself out there. Newsletters, again, and this is for any kind of marketing, once you really grasp the reader-centric aspect of marketing, it's going to make all of those concerns you have kind of disappear because you're giving your readers something they want. So in a newsletter, are you entertaining them? Are you inspiring them? Are you just telling them about a sale because they want to know about the sale? Those are the kind of newsletters that the readers, here's my newsletter rule. my readers should get something out of my newsletter, even if they never buy my book. Okay, so what do they get? Are they going to get a funny story? Are they going to get to feel like they're connected to me or to the other readers on that newsletter list? Are they going to get news about books in a genre they love? I want them to get something out of it, even if they don't buy my book. For those of you who are on the Successful Writer newsletter, I send out usually, like, I'll send something inspiring or educational out and hopefully amusing, like with memes and stuff. And then at the very end, I'll be like, oh, and here's a webinar that you might want to sign up for, or here's a course that I just released. And so it's more about, even if nobody buys that course, I still want them to have gotten something out of it. So again, the more you can focus on being reader centric, the less you'll be worried about bugging people or coming across as pushy or things like that. Fear of regularly losing money instead of making it. Yeah, that's for sure a fear. And the nice thing about all these ad platforms is you never need to waste more than 10 or 20 bucks. If you spend $10 on Amazon ads, you will get a good feel for whether or not they're working for you. Same thing with Facebook ads. So I know somebody told me once, I was talking to them and I think I want to learn Facebook ads, but I'm a little nervous about the money. And they told me, oh, well, make sure you've got at least $1,000 to lose, that you're not going to miss if you don't make it back. And I was like, okay, that sounds scary, but I guess I'll, find a way to make that work. And then I realized you can set up an ad for $2 a day and stop it after 3 days if it isn't working. So we can deal with very, very small budgets. We do not need to dump $100 or $1,000 before we know if something's working. It's one of the huge benefits of being an indie author. So for example, let's say you're a health coach selling personal fitness for $1,000 a month. For Facebook ads, you would need to spend over $1,000 and get nobody to sign up before you would know that your ad's not effective. Whereas, selling a $5 ebook, well, we just need to spend maybe $10. By the time you've spent $10 and you've gotten 0 sales, you'll know that it's not working. So you can kill it. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a big money investment at all. Yeah, Jess, you're totally right. So it sounds like you make it a refuge or a bit of a vacay. It's really true because again, I deal so much with language. I deal so much with unpredictability that I love that numbers are always just going to be numbers. Okay, Theophilus recently started an advice column written by one of the characters. People send in funny questions. That sounds really, really fun. So yeah, remembering that it's not about selling to your readers. It's about connecting with your readers. Even something as impersonal as an Amazon ad. There is a connection there because you get to choose what kind of reader you want to target. You're not just telling Amazon, find me somebody who wants to read a book. You're telling Amazon, find somebody who wants to read a legal thriller in the vein of this author, that author, and that author. And so when we get specific about our targeting is when we're kind of creating this character that we're, real life character that we're advertising to. And again, there's an exchange there. It's not just, I'm here because I want your money at all. Misty says, I love your newsletters. Thank you, Misty. Would putting relevant curated news related to your books that is interesting and positive into newsletter be a good idea? For sure. I think that, you need to figure out what your readers like. Do they so let's say you write romance. Maybe your readers are going to love relationship tips. I read an article about, I think it's Nicholas Sparks. No, maybe one of those big name male romance authors. He got his start by driving around doing talks on how to have a more romantic relationship. He was giving nonfiction talks to people in order to sell his fiction. So you could for sure do something like that. Again, it's going to be, feel it out. It's going to be what your readers want. Some readers might love that. If you write legal thrillers and you want to highlight super interesting court cases, your readers might like that. Or maybe they would rather, don't tell me about what's going on in the real world. Tell me something about your fictional world. So, but it's for sure worth trying. And again, if there's one rule about newsletters, it's make sure that even if they don't buy, they've gotten something out of it. John says, I highly recommend Alana and Melissa's training on back matter. I've initiated their suggestions and already seen positive results. To me, that's a form of marketing. Yeah, thank you, John. So for back matter, it's the same thing. It's making it really easy for people to find your next book. That's important. But and it's also like speaking to what they want. And if you're a novelist, what they want is usually going to be the adventure or the romance or the excitement, right? And so infuse all of your, anytime you talk about your book, talk about it in those terms. Don't talk about it. We used this example last week. We did a webinar on writing good blurbs. And the example I used was like, you don't say Shang-Chi's a movie, it's a martial arts movie, right? Because there's like a bajillion martial arts movies. So like, what is it that makes Shang-Chi so different? What is it about your books that make your book stand out in your genre? Find all of those words. Because otherwise, if you don't find your flavor, then the example I use is it's like showing up on a dating profile and saying, I'm a 40-year-old woman who lives in Brooklyn. That doesn't tell you anything. Whereas if you say, I love to run and I eat great food and I dress quirky, like that's a dumb profile, but you get what I'm saying. You need to add personality to it. Okay. I think we've actually covered mostly, so I'm just going to skip ahead and let's dive in. Let me see if there's anything on this side I want to market, just how to fall in love with marketing. And then we get to dive into the different ad platforms. A lot of these we've already talked about, the idea of connecting with your readers, helping readers find what they're looking for, right? So some of us feel selfish or almost guilty, like we're knocking on doors, selling somebody a vacuum when they already have a perfectly good vacuum. We're not doing that. People want, if somebody's seeing your ad, it's because they like the kind of book you write. And so you're just helping them find what they're already looking for. Another way to look at marketing is as a way to support your muse, right? So instead of there being this dichotomy, I'm going to, here's a way to look at it. It's almost like the parent who they play at home with their kid and then they go to work, and both of those are for the kid, right? They go to work, not because they hate the kid and need to get away from the kid. They go to work, well, maybe, hopefully not. They go to work to support the kid, right? And so it's this idea of, okay, when I'm writing, I am playing with my muse. When I'm marketing, I'm finding a way to pay the bills so that my muse and I can keep on playing. I hope that makes sense to you and gives you another way to look at it. Marketing isn't just like a tax. It isn't just the costs that you have to pay in order to be an author. It's a way to financially support you and your creativity so that you can keep on doing the things that you love to do. Another thing that I want to highlight is marketing is a way to put your money behind your book because you know your book is that good. So here's an objection that some people bring up. I think this was more common a lot of years ago when visibility organically was more effective. And the idea was if your book is really, really, really good, you're not going to need to market at all, right? Like, can most people remember, even if you don't feel that way today, can most people remember a time where that was, even if people didn't say it, some people said it outright, and most people at least thought it a little bit. If your book's great, you're not going to have to market. Well, here's what I say. And so by marketing your book, it was almost as if you were admitting that your book couldn't stand on its own. And nobody wants to do that, right? It feels like, okay, I need to pay somebody to be friends with my kids because my kid is like unpopular, right? Nobody wants to feel that way. And so when we market, another way of looking at it is if you know your book is that good, then go ahead and put your money behind your book because you know it's that good and you've got a message that you want to share. All righty. Even Lexus has to run ads. Yeah, good point. All righty. I think we've kind of covered all the other topics of the mindset side. And again, just remember, it's a way to support your creativity. It's a way to share your message, right? Would writing, and this is not rhetorical, it might sound rhetorical. It's not, I actually want an answer. Would writing be as rewarding for you if you didn't have readers? Like, is there anybody here who loves writing for pure writing's sake so much that assuming your bills got paid one way or the other, you would have just as much fun or maybe even more fun writing just for you. You would write books, you'd never publish them, you'd never read them. If the money was already taken care of, is there anybody, and again, not a leading question, I truly am curious. Christy says, yes, I think it saves my life. Yeah, so Christy would keep writing. Lynn would, but not long-term. Peter must have readers. LCS, Lauren. Okay, so there's a mix, right? What I found is that there is a really fun creative exchange. So I used to think of writing as totally solitary. I would write a book because I love to write my book. People read my book, cool, but I'm going to do it because I love to do it. But that has shifted for me because I've had such a fun exchange with my readers. And by exchange, I don't even really mean like I send out an email and my readers write me back. It's more under the surface. Like I wrote book 1 in a series. All the reviews brought up, like, I can't wait to see what happens about this little itty bitty subplot that I never even planned to readdress. Or by book 3, I realized everybody loves this side character that I just kind of threw in there because I needed something. But then I was able to see, okay, they love this character. Let's flesh her out more. So I love the exchange that comes from interacting with readers. And for that to happen, you need readers. But yeah, sometimes it is fun to think about just being able to write because you love to write. And so if you're in that boat, if you're in the boat that says, if the money took care of itself, I would write no matter what, whether I had 0 readers or 1 billion readers, I would just keep on writing. If you're in that camp, what I would say is ads are a great way, and learning the marketing well is a great way to keep on supporting your creativity. So now that I have gotten ads going and I know that I can count on like a consistent income base that kind of covers necessities, I can take a lot more creative risks, right? I'm never going to be pigeonholed writing in a subgenre that bores me, because once I get bored with a subgenre, I can pivot, and I can do that because I took time to learn the marketing so that I know that the basic bills are getting paid. So that's another example of how marketing is a way to kind of support your art. You can take more risks if you know that the bills are going to get paid no matter what. My muses would be angry. Lynn, you have multiple muses? I'm not sure I've heard of that before. I must know more, and I must know if anybody else has multiple muses. You almost just like blew my mind. I need to like sit with that for 5 minutes and just think about multiple muses. Yeah. I have a muse for each pen name. That's really interesting. Super, super interesting. You guys are like expanding my horizons a ton. I need like 5 minutes just to let that soak in. Okay, it sounds like a lot of people have different muses, maybe for different pen names or things. That's so interesting. Okay, just a second. Okay. I have a girlfriend's club for different genres. That's so interesting. Is anybody else hearing about multiple muses for the very first time? Because otherwise I feel like I'm like just catching on to something that everybody else knows about. Wow. Very cool. All right. So let's see. I see that there are 65 people on this call right now. I wonder how many muses that represents. All right. Okay. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about the different marketing platforms. These are the 3 that we're going to cover mostly. I know we did talk a little bit about newsletters. I think that is an important part of marketing. Most of what we're going to focus on is the like paid click ads in these 3 platforms. So not going to talk a ton about TikTok. It's not one I have much experience with or interest in learning at the moment. If you've got newsletter questions, we can for sure cover that. I love talking about newsletters. Hope to do a course on it fairly soon. Newsletters. Okay. All right. Like I said, you completely blew my mind. I still need like half a minute to get over this. All right. Let me think of a good way for us to transition. So as we switch gears, how about why don't you all throw in chat? Let me know of these 3 platforms. So you have Amazon, Facebook, and BookBub. What's your experience? Is there one you love, one you hate? Have you tried them all? Are you super curious to learn one? What are some of the myths? Maybe they're even true, but myths or stereotypes that you've heard about these platforms. And as you're bringing that in, I'm just going to give my brain a chance to transition. All right. Good with Amazon, so Facebook, ugh, BookBub. I like that. I really hate BookBub. Trying to get the perfect image. Yeah, BookBub is very image centric. Amazon doesn't work yet. Facebook was $1 cost per click. BookBub won't approve me. I love that you threw in the word yet, and this is like the gold star. They haven't worked for me yet. I think that's a really important word to add in there. I'm confused about click-through rate on Amazon. Some say important, others say ignore. I'm in the ignore it camp. Chrissy started Amazon ads in the last month. Haven't tried BookBub and Facebook. Spent lots of money on Amazon, but not profitable yet. Again, you guys are doing such a good job remembering that important word. Amazon ads don't do much for me, but they aren't expensive. Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. I've mostly focused on Amazon. I did try Facebook and BookBub. Amazon has gotten more money from me than they paid me in royalties. Okay, let me talk about a common troubleshooting. If you try multiple platforms and you get your ads running pretty well, like you've got pretty good click-through rates, you're getting clicks that are kind of within average range in terms of the cost per click, and your books do not sell, it's possible your book needs to be priced higher, right? So like it's really hard to make a profit on a 99-cent book if you're doing paid ads for it, unless it's like a 99-cent book one that leads into, a 20 book series or something. I'm not saying it's a rule. I'm just saying it's harder. So one, you might look at raising your price. Can you go from $2.99 to $3.99 or $3.99 to $4.99? That's going to give you a bigger buffer. The other thing to look at, many authors lose money from ads, blame the ads dashboard when the real culprit is their sales page, because Facebook ads, Amazon, and BookBub ads, their only job is to get someone to your sales page. At that point, your sales page has to be set up in a way so that people will want to buy your book. So sometimes, even before diving into the ads, you need to make sure you've got a good cover, good blurb, all of that. We have a lot of resources about that for people who need more help with that, but that's one thing I wanted to mention. Sally, I was doing okay on Amazon ads. I outsourced the work, killed my Amazon mojo. That's a bummer. Yeah, I would be frustrated too. Let's talk real quick, because I feel like a lot of us bring in past mistakes or regrets or disappointments into today. And that's normal and that's natural. Like it's totally, and I'm not picking on you at all. I'm just using you, Sally, as an example, because I think this is an important thing to bring up. We might say I paid somebody $100 to promote my book to their website 5 years ago, and I lost money. And therefore, I never want to spend money promoting my book again, right? Like we make connections and turn those connections into patterns and turn those patterns into rules, when really we don't need to. And so here's what I love to think about. If you have ever made a quote mistake in your ads dashboard, I always call that, instead of it's a mistake or it's losing money, it's basically a learning tax, right? You paid money to get some data. So Sally, you paid somebody money to get data that tells you that you don't want to outsource your ads anymore. Or maybe it was just the wrong person to outsource. Maybe you spent $100 on Facebook ads and the ad doesn't work. So you have spent $100 to buy data that tells you what audience does not want to see your ad. Okay, so it's a way to be a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more gracious, and to stop beating yourself up for things in the past. and to move forward, right? It's really hard. If you've lost $2,000 on Amazon ads, it's going to be super hard to jump right into Facebook ads and feel excited about it, right? And so sometimes we need to kind of just acknowledge some of these past regrets so that we don't keep bringing them into today's story. I tried them all. Facebook was the best, but I think it was pure luck because I don't understand what I'm doing. I love it. Which is best for audiobooks? Facebook does a really good job. So when I run Facebook ads, I send them to the Amazon Kindle link, but then I include links to all the other stores, including the audiobook. That is a really effective way to get some wide sales and some audiobook sales. Also, BookBub, you can now, if your audiobooks are in Chirp, so they can't be exclusive to A6, but if they're in Chirp, which you can get to through going through Findaway, those work really well. I think my Chirp ads, at least at the beginning of this year and the end of last year, my Chirp ads were the highest ROI of any of the ads I was running. Yeah, the way of finding millions of keywords for Amazon ads is overwhelming. I never teach that anymore. I teach like simple, like 24 keywords max, and make them really specific keywords because it is overwhelming. I need to spend time with my AMS again. They used to work for a bit. Yeah. A friend said ads don't work till you have 20 books. Is that true? Great. Okay. Throw me all the rules that you guys have heard about ads. This is one of them. Never advertise till you have a certain number of books. Throw all the rules that you have heard about ads because I want to dive into them. Ads don't work till you have 20 books. So does that mean like, and I don't mean to pick on your friend. I just want to point out gently that it's a little crazy. Because if this was a rule, like this could be a fine suggestion for some people, but if this was a rule, what this would mean is I could write 19 books and set up an Amazon ad and lose all my money. But then the day I published my 20th book, then all of a sudden my ads are going to be profitable, right? Like it's a little silly. Now, here's what I will say about that. It is easier to recoup your ad expense if you are advertising a series. I have definitely run profitable ads for some of my standalone books, but it's harder, right? Because if you have a series, maybe you get $20 out of any one reader. Whereas if it's just a standalone book, the max you'll get is maybe $3 or $4. So not a rule, but yeah, the more books you have, the easier it is. But there's not a magic number. Oh, good, Janet. I've stopped worried about duplicate keywords on Amazon ads. It's such relief. Me too. You do not need to worry about duplicate keywords. I just throw them all in there and let them run. I treat ads with a very kind of Zen attitude. I don't stress about detail stuff. And that's the same way I teach it. I like to keep it very, very simple. For people who want to add on like layers of complexity, go ahead, but we don't need to, especially at the beginning. What is Chirp? Chirp is a BookBub kind of like sister company that advertises discounted audiobooks. All right. Ad spend is a business expense. So if you're scared to take the leap, just think of possible loss ad spend as tax deductions. Yeah. I mean, in a way, you could think about it as a tax deduction or a learning tax, like I said. And here's the nice thing. If your learning tax is $500, that's on you. Like you don't need to waste $500 to learn what doesn't work. You can waste like 20. So it's better. Never advertise a standalone. Yeah. Again, it's easier to make a profit from a series, but go ahead and try advertising the standalone and see what happens. You need at least 3 books before you can discount and do ads that pay off. Yeah, I mean, the rule of 3 has been around forever. Like I'm never going to market my book till I have at least 3 out. Again, yeah, it's always easier. The more books you have, the easier it is to make a profit. But so let me address a question that comes up all the time. Should you run an ad for a book 1 if books 2 through whatever aren't out yet? Some of that has to do with how quickly the books are going to be out. Like if book 1 is out and book 2 is coming out in a month, like go ahead and just start your ads. Some of it has to do with but on the other hand, like if you've written book 1 and book 2 might not be out for another year or 2, may as well wait. Again, none of these are rules. These are just ideas to throw out there to help you make the best empowered decision. Another thing is like, how much money do you have? If you've got an extra $100 and you don't mind it, go ahead and spend $100. Sometimes I treat ads as like billboard money. When you pay to put an ad on a billboard, you're not expecting somebody to drive by that billboard, pull out their phone while they're driving and buy your product, right? And you're really not even expecting them to like park and go home and buy it right then. It's more about just visibility and brand awareness. So I would say like 10 to 15% of my ad budget, I kind of treat as billboard money. So if you've got a little bit of discretionary income and you want to put out ads for your book one, treat it kind of like billboard money. You'll get more readers, you'll get more ranked, you'll get more people who are going to join your newsletter list, you'll get more people who will eventually be ready to buy a book too. Then go ahead. But if you're on a super tight budget and you can't afford to pay for ads unless you get the money back, then maybe just wait till the other books are out. Those are some of the ways to think about when you should start advertising. Only run ads to book one. Because if you run ads to book two, then it messes up the read-through rate. Okay. I would rather have more readers and more money at the end of the month than perfectly pure data. Again, this is where I say I'm kind of zen about it. Like, I know my numbers, but I also I'm not going to stress and be like, okay, did this $5 come from my book club ad or from my Amazon ad? And until I know, I'm not going to be able to sleep. For me, I'm like, did I make more money than I spent on my ads for this series? Cool. So I do run ads to subsequent books. I don't on Facebook, but on Amazon, I will run ads for my entire series. It's quick. It basically takes no more time than advertising book one. And it's also really, really good for brand awareness. That's kind of what I mean again with, billboard space, right? Because then when you're on that sales page, all your books can show up in your sponsored products. And I really, really like that. Only start ad once you have 3 books in a series. Yep, that's that rule. It's been around forever. Is it true that we need to make at least 5 new ads a week on each Amazon platform? No, not at all. Trying to think if there's even any. The one thing I don't recommend starting like 100 Amazon ads all on the same day, because then it kind of just overwhelms the system. So I think that maybe that's where that rule started. Or maybe it's just advice given to somebody who wants you to continue growing your Amazon ads and not feel like you've got to spend hours and hours on it. But no, not a rule. The first in series should be free. Yeah, that was a rule for a while. And it worked for me for a while. Like 2017, I think, was like a good perma-free book one year. With changes in algorithm, changes in Amazon visibility, I don't rely on 99 cents or perma-free anymore. It's fine for me. I think it's fine for like a short term, like a countdown deal or something like that. But my read through in book one is the same price as all the other books, is so much higher. So like I did a 99 cent book one and realized I only made like $1.50 across the whole series for every reader who bought it at 99 cents, because the read through was so low. It was like less than 3%, I think, of people who bought book one at 99 cents bought book two at $3.99. Whereas when book one is $3.99 and book two is $3.99, like almost half of the people go on to buy it. And so my read through rate for that is like I get $14 or $12 every time someone buys book one. So it doesn't have to be free. You can do it. Doesn't have to. Let's see. $0.99 or free promos devalue your work. Yeah, I mean, if it works for you, go ahead and do it. The one thing I would never encourage somebody to go 99 cents if you feel like that's the only way you can get readers, right? Because so much of what we tell ourselves about our book comes across subtly in our marketing. So if you truly believe that nobody's going to buy your book at $3.99 and they're only going to buy your book if it's 99 cents, I would say that you've got some mindset work to do, because then you aren't valuing your work. Whereas if you're valuing your work and you want to put it at 99 cents because you know it's going to be effective, then go ahead, but you've got to value your work. I found that giving away a free book did not cause read-through ever. Yep. I did not get good read-through from free either. And here's another thing, like not all readers are created equally. Here's what I mean. Let's talk about BookBub ad. BookBub readers are amazingly voracious. If they buy book one in your series, they are so likely to buy like all the books. I keep a number that I call my buy-through rate. So my read-through rate is how many people buy book one and will eventually go on to read book two. My buy-through rate is how many people see my ad for book one and buy my entire series like that day. BookBub buy-through rate can be like 10% of people who buy book one will at least buy book two, right? Probably more. So getting one BookBub reader, pretty amazing. Whereas, for example, let's say you do a promo on one of the 99 cent sites. That reader, yeah, maybe you got a sale, but they might not be nearly as likely to go and read the rest of your series. So remember, not all readers are created equally. That's why BookBub can often give you the highest cost per click, but because their readers are so good at follow through, sometimes they might end up as your most profitable. Thank you, Karen. What time will you go until and will a replay be coming? We will go at least another half hour, and we will certainly not go more than another hour. So half hour from right now, at the very least, if we're not off, we will for sure be wrapping up. And then if you have, if you signed up, then you will get the replay. All right. Some genres are better suited for free and 99 cents. True. Yep. Absolutely. I priced my first 10 series at $2.99. The rest are $3.99. Yeah. Again, the most important thing is that you need to value your book. Whether you put your book at free or 99 cents or $9.99, you need to know its value. So never discount your book because you think that's the only way to get readers. Once you value your book, you can price it at whatever and make good, empowered decisions. All right. Let's dive into these. Now that we've sort of dissected some of the marketing rules, let's dive into some of these platforms. Amazon ads. Let me tell you some of the things I love about Amazon ads. I do think it's the least intimidating dashboard, especially if you don't like doing graphics, because your book cover is your graphic. You don't have to do any graphics. You don't have to do any text. You can if you want, but you don't have to. So really, the only choice you need to make on Amazon is who do you want to target? And you can even do automatic Amazon ads where you tell Amazon to target people that they think are going to respond well to your book. So in that sense, least intimidating dashboard for sure. It can be one of the more effective. So like, let's compare it to Facebook. If somebody's on Facebook, they're not shopping for books. They are wasting time or looking at cat videos or checking in with their friends or telling people what they ate for breakfast. Your ad is just kind of there. Whereas when you're on Amazon and somebody sees your ad, first of all, for the average user, your ad is just going to look like an also bought. It's not going to be like, ooh, I see this sponsored, right? It's going to look as though Amazon is promoting your book to somebody. And so there's some inherent, can't think of the word, but people are going to assume that you've got kind of Amazon stamp of approval. Second of all, when people are on Amazon in the Kindle store where they're going to see your ads, they're already shopping for books. And so in that case, you can, like, for example, my click conversion rate. That's where I compare how many clicks it takes me to make one sale. My conversion rate on Amazon is usually less than 10 clicks to get one sale. Whereas on Facebook, it might be like 25 or 35 clicks to get a sale, because when people see your book on Amazon, they're already shopping for books. So those are some of the things I love about Amazon ads. It also allows you to target very, very, very specifically. Like Facebook ads, you could target Debbie Maycomer, but you cannot target, the brand new debut indie success who had a book club feature deal yesterday, right? Whereas with Amazon ads, you can target anybody. You can even say, you can target by author name, or you can even target down to the ASIN. So maybe there's an author who writes some cozy mysteries and some Christmas mysteries, and you only want to promote your Christmas mysteries to her Christmas mystery readers. You can pick her individual Christmas mysteries, ASINs, and target those. So it's the most specific targeting that you can get from all of the platforms, which can be really useful, especially if you've got very messy also bots. You can kind of use this to get yourself advantageously into somebody else's also bots. One more pro of Amazon ads is it's very unlikely that they will take your money and squander it really, really quickly. And that actually leads me into the biggest drawback of Amazon ads, which is it's very frustrating because there's no way to predict how much they will spend. Amazon ads only charge you when somebody clicks on your ad. And basically, Amazon's not in control of that. So you could tell Amazon, hey, I'm willing to spend $50 a day. But if people aren't clicking on your ad, you're not going to spend anything. So one of the cons is it's very hard to take your daily budget and just predict how much you're going to spend from it. So your spend is a little bit, your spend is very unpredictable. Now you can put caps on, so you'll never overspend, but it's hard to be like, okay, I want to spend $10 a day on Amazon ads. That's not really how it's going to work. It can also be frustrating because you might set up a lot of ads. Like let's say you set up a dozen ads, 10 of them might never show more than a couple hundred impressions. And that's just the way it is. So Amazon ads kind of become a number game. If you're super impatient, it can be really, really frustrating. Those are some of the cons of Amazon ads. They also have some rules, like if your cover's really racy, if it's gory, if it has a weapon, like a gun pointed at the reader. Those are some of the times where they just won't approve it. All right, pros and cons of Facebook ads now. One of the things that I really like about Facebook is it's such a wide audience pool. It's very easy to just keep on finding different audiences on Facebook and rotating through different audiences. So people will never get sick of hearing about you and your books. It also is social. So you get some of that effect, like I talked about, where people are going to tag their friends in your posts, are going to share your post. So you get quite a lot of kind of that viral share. Some of my Facebook ads have, over 1,000 reactions to it. And that really builds social proof. So then when I show that ad to somebody else, they're like, oh, this isn't some no-name author. This is an author that over 1,000 people like her books. Another cool thing with Facebook ads is their option to retarget. So you can do things like upload your email list and send ads to people who are already on your email list. Now, some of you might be saying, well, why would I pay Facebook to advertise to these people? I don't want to pay for that. But really, those warm leads who already are looking for what you're selling, you're going to get such higher result rates from. Totally, totally worth it. Let's see, cons of Facebook ads. It's a little bit more of an intimidating dashboard. Basically the three things that you want to learn about Facebook ads is learn the difference between campaign, ad set, and ad. Once you've learned that takes about 80% of the complexity away. Another 15% of the complexity gets taken away if you just remember that in general, the defaults that you see in the Ads Manager dashboard are going to serve you fine. So if you forget, should I toggle this button or not, stick with the defaults and you'll almost always be fine. So when we talk about campaigns, ad sets, and ads, the campaign is basically where you just tell Facebook what you want. For most of us, we want traffic to our Amazon sales page. So we're going to set up a traffic campaign. The ad set is where we just set the audience. So we say, find me people who are middle-aged married women with kids who read romance and love to watch rom-coms, right? We can come up with a really fleshed out audience. That's another huge con or pro of Facebook ads. You can get a really broad audience. So you might write in a genre that is kind of hard to explain, right? So maybe you do sci-fi dystopian romance, right? And like that's not really a category you can target on Amazon. But in Facebook, you can say, find me people who like sci-fi and also like dystopian novels and also read romance books or watch romance movies or things like that. So you can blend interests to create a really fleshed out avatar. Cons of Facebook ads is they are getting more expensive. The holidays, so basically now until the end of the year, we see a pretty big increase because you're not just competing with other authors, you're competing with like Macy's and Target and, you know, like huge companies with huge budgets. And so, yeah, some people scale back this time of year. Some people just dabble. I like to use Facebook as a way to keep my warm audience engaged. I really love the option to retarget. So even like what I'm doing here with this webinar, I can take people who have signed up for this webinar and I can run an ad to them to say, hey, if you liked this webinar, you might like this book about book marketing or things like that. That side of it's pretty nice about Facebook. Let me think if I can think of any other pros and cons of Facebook. Facebook will always spend your budget, so be careful. But you can start with like a $5 a day budget. It doesn't have to be a lot. I do feel like it's important to point out some people have been getting their ad accounts deactivated on Facebook for really no rhyme or reason. So if you're promoting things that are racy, might not be the best. If you're promoting things that are controversial, might not be the best. Like they won't let you advertise a book about why parents are choosing not to vaccinate their kids. Like that's a stated, we will never allow you to advertise this kind of product. That leads me to BookBub, which has no rules. Basically. So if you're having a hard time getting your ads approved on either Amazon or Facebook, BookBub can be a really good option. Let me tell you some of the pros of BookBub. We talked about one of them already, and that is how voracious the readers are. They are way more likely to buy your whole series. If they buy book one, they're way more likely to go and read the entire series. They're more likely to become the most rabid fans. That's probably the biggest pro. One of the cons is not every single subgenre is well represented. So like if I went in to promote my Christian suspense novels on there by targeting category, the only thing I could put it under is Christian fiction. So it's going to be next to the Amish romance and the Christian historicals and things like that. So not every subgenre is well represented. If your subgenre is well represented, could be really good for you. It skews towards some of the younger readerships. So anything spec fic, anything racy, those tends to do well with BookBub. Thrillers kind of advertise well anywhere. Cons of BookBub is that it's a pretty small audience. Like BookBub is always getting more people on their list, but it's not like Facebook where it's basically, you can think of it like an infinite potential audience. You know, eventually you are going to kind of run out of audience or need to keep up coming with something new. So let's talk about which of these are more set it and forget it versus which of these platforms need more tweaks. Amazon ads, once you get them going, tends to work well. I've got Amazon ads that have been running for 2 or 3 years that are still running, so I keep them on. So Amazon ads takes a lot of tweaking to get them going. Once you get them going, you're kind of set. Facebook ads are almost the opposite. Facebook ads, you can get going. You know, they'll always show to people, they'll always spend your budget. It's a more uncommon to find an author who keeps the same Facebook ad running to the same audience for like a year, right? So they require in general more tweaking, more nursing, more new content, because otherwise people just kind of see your ad and ignore it if they've seen it too much. BookBub's kind of a blend of the two. You can run ads evergreen on BookBub. Eventually, the audience will probably get a little bit tired of you, but you've got some time until that happens. Let's see if I missed any comments. BookBub or Facebook, are there good audiences for male romance? This is one of my genres, very relationship and romance focused. Yeah, so BookBub is for sure going to be a good one. And then Facebook, you could for sure build an audience. What I would do, so like you can't, basically you need to think about what your readers are. Are your readers like middle-aged heterosexual women, or are your readers like young gay men? So once you figure out who your reader is, you can find them. The one thing you can't do on Facebook, so let's say you're writing male romance and your readership is gay men. You can't go to Facebook and say, find me gay men. That's not like, that's private protected information that Facebook's not going to let you target by. So you'll have to do something like, okay, where does my audience, like what magazines do they read? What celebrities do they follow? Things like that. Like same thing for me, advertising my Christian suspense. I can't say, find me people who are Christian, but I can say, find me people who have an interest in Bible study or things like that. So sometimes, so more hetero women. So your Facebook audience could be, women of a certain age bracket. If you want, you can get into demographics. Some romance readers do find that targeting married women sells their romance better. And then you would just add on, okay, so they have to read romance. And then, you would want to for sure add one more layer so that you're appealing to people who like the male romance. So maybe, books or movies or things like that could be a good thing. All right. What do you think about using Facebook ads to promote a blog? Depends on why you want to promote the blog. The only time that I would recommend doing that is if you're really doing it strategically for the retargeting. So what that might look like is I'm going to make a blog post. My blog post is 10 Christian suspense novels on sale today. I'm going to send traffic from Facebook. I'll run a Facebook ad to that audience. My goal isn't just to get people onto my blog. My goal then is so that I can go back to Facebook and say, okay, anybody who clicked on that ad, now show them this ad for my book, right? So that's the one time that I would recommend it. Let's talk next about kind of how all of these can work together. Oh, one more thing I want to say about BookBub ads is it's really, really good if your books are wide and you're trying to grow a readership in Barnes & Noble or Kobo or not, because you can very specifically target that. So even like for Facebook, I do sell my wide books from Facebook ads, but my main link still takes people to Amazon. So BookBub is the best way to target. If your only goal is to get more Kobo readers, for example, BookBub's going to be the best. How have you figured out that BookBub ads are better for buy through than others? Yeah, so I use my Amazon affiliate tags. I have one that I use for my Facebook ads and one that I use for my BookBub ads so that I'm able to see which sales came from BookBub and which sales came from Facebook. The Amazon Associates program has gotten a lot stricter. They're not accepting or approving as many applications from authors anymore. So if you don't have access to that, don't worry about it too much. But I was able to see that trend from that. All right, let's talk about using all of these together. And then basically we'll just wrap up with, questions that everybody has. So first of all, I do recommend learn one of these platforms, learn it well. That will give you the confidence to learn some of the others. If you have no clue where to start, my default suggestion is Amazon. It's less intimidating to set up. You don't have to worry about graphics. You'll see your results. And then, okay, how they work together well. One problem, like we talked about with Amazon ads, is how you can set them up, but then they don't end up showing to a lot of people. Amazon's always going to want to do what's best for Amazon. So Amazon's going to want to sell books or to promote books that are already selling. So one thing you can do, So if you set up a bunch of Amazon ads and none of them are turning on, then you can run some Facebook ads just to get some sales going. And sometimes that's enough to kickstart your Amazon ads. So that's one way these can work together. Another thing that I like to do, speaking of retargeting, it's a tiny bit complicated, but if you've done ads on these platforms, you can follow this step by step. So I run a BookBub ad and I use a reader link from Reader Links, and I have my Facebook pixel attached to that link. And so if somebody clicks on my BookBub ad, I can add them to a Facebook audience. And so I might promote a 99-cent book on BookBub just to get a bunch of people to click on it. And then I can take all the people who clicked on that and run Facebook ads to them for something full priced. Friends have said Amazon promotes KU over other books. Yeah, I mean, there's no man in a chair who's pointing a finger saying, oh, this book's in KU, so let's give it a little bit of favor. But yeah, there might be some advantages in the algorithm, seeing as how if somebody, downloads your book, that can help your rank and things. But no, it's not really a conspiracy to get wide readers from using it. Okay, let me think of any other ways that these ads can work together well. Facebook ads and BookBub ads are better for a launch. Like if you've got something time specific, Facebook ads and BookBub ads work better. Amazon ads, because they're unpredictable, which are going to turn on, are harder if you've got something really time sensitive. If you want to go huge, like you want to spend several hundred a day, Facebook is probably the best platform for that. If you want to go totally evergreen and just make ads and not like check in with your ads dashboard every single day, Amazon's better. It takes time to get your ads, but once you get ads that are working, in general, those ads will keep on working. All right. Let's do any other. I think that gets me to the end of like the teaching side of what I wanted to talk about. So let's just throw in any of your questions that we can get to. While you're throwing your questions in, I want to tell you about, for anybody who wants the step-by-step on each of these platforms, how you can go grab that. So if you go to courses.alanaterry.com/library, there's 3 options. They're all on sale this week. The ads library is my course on Facebook ads, Amazon ads, and BookBub ads. It really does give you the step-by-step walkthrough. So you can get all 3 of those. And then if you want, you can get that bundle plus a couple extra courses, like one of my trainings on writing blurbs and things like that. I'm also opening up a new mastermind. It's going to be 8 weeks where we'll go live at least once a week, and we will go step by step into Amazon ads, Facebook ads, BookBub ads, how to set them up, and then how to analyze them. And then, plenty of time for people who have questions. So if you like this kind of format where you can just ask questions as you go, the mastermind is probably going to be really helpful and encouraging. If you like to learn at your own pace and you just want the step-by-step, you could start with the ads library, which is just the 3 courses. Each of these come with the library though. So you'll get the courses on Facebook ads, Amazon ads, BookBub ads. So yeah, that is open now just for 1 week at courses.alanaterry.com/library. Some of you may have gotten an email about my charity bundle sale. And so some of this we're using as a fundraiser for Liberty in North Korea. So anybody who orders with the, there's options. There's a 6-month payment, and there's also the just, buy it now. So anybody that orders today with the buy it now, that's going to go towards our charity fundraiser for Liberty in North Korea. The link again is courses.alanaterry.com/library. Let me throw it in here for you. All right. And now let's see what questions have come in. What makes an Amazon ad work? Finding the right keywords. Yeah, keywords are important. Luck is important. Amazon ads are weird. You can set up one Amazon ad with 12 keywords, and then you can set up an Amazon ad with those exact same keywords for that exact same bid. And one of them might do amazing and one of them might not do anything. So what makes an Amazon ad work? Honestly, it's just persistence and patience. It's just creating more ads until you get enough running that it substantially bumps up your bottom line. Some people say Amazon ads stop working if we don't send traffic from outside sources. It's less that they stop working, but it is harder for Amazon to turn on your ads. And so sometimes if you're having a problem where you set up a lot of Amazon ads and like less than 10% of them are doing anything, first of all, it's not the end of the world because you're not getting charged if nobody's clicking, but that would be a time where creating some Facebook ads or even just a newsletter blast to your list to get some sales can sometimes kickstart that. All right, just a sec. Alrighty. For Facebook, do you have a bunch of Facebook audiences figured out? And can you simply cycle through them? I do. Yeah. And I do cycle through them. So yep, I like to have at least kind of three. My goal for every series is to find at least 3 core audiences that respond well to it, and to have at least 2 ads that I know work well for it. And so basically I've got the option, I think about it like crop rotation. So like, this year, this crop goes in this field, and the next year it goes in this field. I do that with my audiences. Like for this month, this audience is seeing ads for this book, while at the same time, this separate audience is seeing this ad for a separate book. Next month, I might change it up so that nobody's seeing the exact same ads for, forever. I wonder if there's any point in making my ventures clean. They have few swear words and only closed or sex. So there's a resource that tells me what is permitted and what isn't in clean books. Does this kill the books? I think for adventure, I think that's probably fine. If we're talking YA, then maybe. If we're talking just straight up adventure, I think closed door is fine. I don't really think that there's a need to clean it up. I know of some like spicy romance authors who create like clean versions under a different pen name, but that's pretty different. I don't think you need to worry about that too much, PJ. Theophilus asks, do you find that keyword ads tend to have a longer shelf life than target product ads? Not that I've noticed. In general, I like the keyword ads and the automatic ads. So I don't do quite as much with the product ads. So maybe that's why I don't have that data. But no, I don't think so. Again, the more you try to find rhyme and reason why certain Amazon ads work and certain don't, like the more confused you're going to get. Because I can set up 2 identical ads on Amazon, and one of them like makes me $100 for every 20 I spend, and one of them loses me, $10 and then stops. Like Amazon, like it's unpredictable, like it works, and I just kind of trust that it's going to keep on working. But if I try to go really granular to be like, why did this keyword work and that one didn't, I just get confused. Like I have one ad, don't quote me on this, but the gist of it is something like the keyword Christian novels is a terrible keyword that lost me tons, but the keyword Christian novel is one of my best. So again, I just don't stress it. I look at my results and say, okay, this worked and that didn't. So I'm going to keep on doing it, but I don't try too hard to ask why, because they are so arbitrary. How do you track results if you're running ads from multiple sales platforms? Yeah, so there's a couple different ways. The very, very easiest way, if you want to keep it really simple, is across all ad platforms, see how much you're spending on one series, and then see how much you've brought in on that series, and just make sure that you're profitable. For a lot of people, we want a little bit more assurance than that. So the Amazon Ads dashboard is decently trustworthy. It will tell you how many copies you've sold. If you do like a series ad, it won't easily tell you like it sold 3 copies of book 1 and 2 copies of book 2. Like the data's there. It's hard to parse through. But you can look, you could say, okay, on Amazon, I spent $30 on Amazon and made $50 in sales. That shows up in my dashboard. You can go ahead and trust those numbers. I mean, it's probably, I know like a couple years ago, the numbers were not reliable at all. I think they've gotten significantly more reliable. So Amazon, you can just look at the dashboard, for Facebook and BookBub, if you have Amazon affiliates, some authors choose to use them. It technically goes against the Amazon affiliate terms of service. So some authors choose not to. And so then if you don't have affiliates or don't want to use your affiliates, what you would do is kind of just like start one platform at a time until you get a baseline. So I know if I'm only running Amazon ads, I sell this amount per series on average. So then now that I know that baseline, I can say, okay, and then if this month I spend $1,000 on Facebook ads, then I know that any sales kind of above what I expect to have gotten just from my, organic and Amazon ad sales is probably from Facebook. Again, you could try to be more specific, and there are some ways, like you could go in and subtract what's reported as a sale in your Amazon ads dashboard and all of that. I don't get that granular because it is a little bit too hard to know like where every single sale comes from. For me, as long as I'm making a profit, I'm pretty happy. Do you only target first in series? On Facebook, yes. Although, let me show you what I've started doing on Facebook with a lot of success, and that is sending people to the Amazon series page. So you know how Amazon will list all the books in the series for you, and with one click, people can buy all of them. That actually has started to work really, really, really well for me with Facebook ads. So Facebook ads, I either advertise just book one in the series, or lately I've been sending people to the entire series page. The other thing I do is I talk up the whole series. I don't just in my text talk about how great book one is. I talk about how great the whole series is so that they're kind of primed to want to buy the whole thing. For Amazon ads, I run it to the whole series because it's really nice for brand awareness. Because then when someone goes to your Amazon sales page for any book in that series, they're likely to see the other books in that series as sponsored products. How many Amazon ads do you run for one series roughly? Probably at least 24 that work, which probably means that over time I've made maybe like over 100. Again, I don't recommend starting more than a couple dozen ads at once on Amazon because otherwise it clogs the system, or it can. So that took years. So maybe your first goal, like step one, is to get 3 to 5 ads that are running and working. To do that, you might need 10 to 15 ads that you create. Step two is basically doing more of the same. So once you find what works for you on Amazon, just keep doing more of that. And that's how you scale up on Amazon until eventually, like if you can get a dozen Amazon ads per book that are actively working and profiting, that's going to have an impact. That's enough to raise the needle for your regular income. All right. Yeah, good point, Theophilus. A lot of the non-US stores don't have the same series page. So you got to be careful. There will be a replay of the webinar, Janet. So that will be coming. Despite BookBub being for discounted books, I've had a major success with new ad for the complete series of adventures. Yeah, BookBub readers do like discounts, but they also love what's new, and they love to binge a series. So even if you don't have a discount, if you've got something brand new, or if you've got something that's in a really bingeable series, they're going to devour it. All righty. So last call for any questions. Don't forget to grab the bundle, courses.alanaterry.com/library, especially if you want to join us for the mastermind. We're going to, like I said, go really step by step. So you'll get the courses if you like to go at your own pace, and those you'll have access to forever. But then we're also going to take 8 weeks to jump on live calls like this, do screen shares, do walkthroughs, do Q&As, so that you can really see the step-by-step. Do you promote box sets? Yes. Box sets work well basically on all of these. My box sets are $9.99, and they definitely work well on Facebook. They work well on Amazon. I actually haven't done a ton with them on BookBub. I could see BookBub going either way. Like $9.99 is higher than most BookBub readers are prepared to pay for one book. But like I said, since I love things that are new and bingeable, it might be worth trying. So for BookBub, must you discount? No, that's my answer. If you don't have a discount, I would for sure in your copy, like make sure people know if it's a series or if it's brand new, because those are other good sales points. Yeah, you get the Amazon. So if you join the mastermind, you get the courses on Facebook ads, Amazon ads, and BookBub ads, plus the bonuses. So you get my productivity for authors course. You get my writing blurbs course. You get a series replay webinar that is a training on how to write really, really, really good blurbs and sales pages. So the courses you get forever access to, plus you get the mastermind, which is the 8 weeks with the replays and all of that. And then again, for people who buy today with the pay in full, that's going to help our Liberty in North Korea charity fundraiser too. So I hope you join us for that. Any other questions about the offer or any other questions about marketing in general? Do you get to keep the replays? Yeah. So the replays, they stay up for like at least 6 months. Every so often, like maybe once a year, I'll go and parse through some just so that it doesn't get totally clogged up. But the replays you get access to for like at least 6 to 9 months, and maybe indefinitely if I forget to go back and eventually take them down. How big is the mastermind group? So usually we, on a live call, will be maybe like 10 to 15 people. The bigger it is, the more we will, the more spots will open in terms of, sometimes we'll just do like open Q&As. So a lot of the calls will be like, okay, today we're going to talk about how to do targeting by ASIN and targeting by genre on Amazon ads. But every so often we'll do, okay, today's an open Q&A call. Show up with any questions you have about any of the course material. So the more people that there are, the more Q&As we'll have. But yeah, it's a nice small group so that there's lots of chance for interaction and engagement. Yeah, good luck to you, PJ. I totally get that it's hard to jump in right now. Let me see if I can find you a link really quick. Charity, we have a charity bundle going on right now. It is, you can kind of pick your price and it gives you like mini trainings. So if you wanted to jump into like a mini training plus help support Liberty North Korea, that might be, I just threw in the link there. Any suggestions to market and advertise autobiographies? Amazon ads feels like a good place to start, and just targeting other autobiographies that are similar. If your autobiography reads more memoir-like, Facebook ads could do well. You could target people who read memoir. So let's say it's like a memoir about going through cancer. You can target people who read memoir and are cancer survivors, or, you know, who follow the cancer research or things like that. Those would be the two places that I would turn. BookBub for nonfiction is a little hit or miss because some of the nonfiction categories are really lumped in. So you might be selling a book on fitness and it's next to a kid cookbook or something like that. Alrighty, I think we've gotten to the end of all the questions, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Yeah, and would love to see you in the mastermind should you decide to join us. And I hope that your marketing is going really well and your writing is going really, really well, and that you have a fabulous weekend. So thank you for joining me, and I will be sending out the replay. If not tonight, then by this time tomorrow, should be out most likely by this evening. So talk to you all soon and have a great day.